Want to talk to Zach? It's got to be about sports, okay? It cannot be about his hair again. 609-919-9200. More of the Zach Gelb Show now on Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
Zach Gelb Show back here with you. Time in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios is 5:30. And sorry to get to this guy a little late, but as you know, Dan Patrick was running a little late, and he called us right at 5:10. And I'm a one-man band today, but it's our pleasure to welcome in the great Ross Tucker, who joins us right now. Ross, thanks for a few minutes. How are you, my friend?
My pleasure, Zach. I'm happy to be on in my old stomping grounds there in Princeton.
No doubt about that. And you could follow Ross Tucker on Twitter at Ross Tucker NFL, and also listen to his excellent NFL podcast, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. So what was college life like up the road at Princeton for one Ross Tucker?
You know, it was a good time. It's interesting because people ask me that all the time, especially, you know, the academic aspect of it. And what's weird about it, Zach, is I really don't have anything else to compare it to. You know, like it's the only college I ever went to. So I don't really know how it compares in terms of the academic aspect and the rigors to other schools. You know, I thought it was fun, you know, kind of competing with the other kids in the classroom. We did not have as much success on the field while I was there as I would have liked, unfortunately. You know, didn't win the Ivy League championship or anything, but it's a really, really special place. Obviously, for anybody that's ever been there, the chance to go there was an amazing once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And, look, I just went back 2 weeks ago for my 15th reunion,
wow.
And all of my football buddies, all my friends came back. We have great memories, great stories. The guys live all over the country. They're all very happy and successful in their own right, and so it was awesome to see them, awesome to be back on campus.
I don't know how you did it, because I just graduated college a few weeks ago, and I was at Temple, and I'll say this, I'm not the most erudite person in the world, to say the least. I didn't buy any books my last year at Temple and find a way to receive my best GPA, and I had the commitment to radio. You obviously had the commitment to football, but one thing we can relate to, and now I'm new to this area, is food, because I'm a big guy just like yourself. So give me some of the best places to eat in the Princeton area.
So, I mean, the one that I'm sure you already know about, and for good reason, is Hoagie Haven.
Is that good? Because, Ross, let me just interrupt you real quickly, because I went in there the other day, and it just smelled like grease, and I'm trying to knock off a few pounds, and I looked at that place, and I said, it looks like a lot of grease on some of that food.
It's probably not the ideal place to go if you're trying to lose weight.
Okay.
I think that's fair to say. But, you know, you got to have some cheat meals every once in a while to stay sane, right?
Yeah,
Zach?
sure.
I mean, if you're gonna watch what you're eating, eat healthy, exercise, all those things, at some point you got to have a cheat meal, and it's an awesome cheat meal, man. I mean, between I love the chicken parm, I love the bacon, egg, and cheese omelet. It is dang good. When we go there, my wife, that's the first stop we make every time we go there. And then there's also a bunch of restaurants. Triangle Brewing is awesome. I was a big fan of J.B. Winberry's with my parents, so there's a bunch of really cool options in town.
Yeah, it sounds like a great place. And that place you were talking about, Hoagie Haven, when I walked in there, actually, I saw them making some cheesesteak with mozzarella sticks. So there's a whole lot of interesting sandwiches there. So you go from Princeton, you're undrafted, you make it into the NFL. How did you do that? Because you don't see a lot of people going from Princeton to the National Football League.
Well, there's a number of different factors. The biggest factor was probably that my junior year, when we played Harvard had a linebacker, Isaiah Kastavinsky, who was drafted in the 4th round by the Seahawks. I had a really good game, and it just so happened that my future agent was in the crowd. He saw what I was doing out there. He noticed, and he came up to me and said, "Hey, I think, you know, you have what it takes to play in the NFL." And I didn't really think much of it. And then he called me, you know, in the spring, and we kind of went from there. It was really, really out of the blue. I also had a teammate, Dennis Norman, who ended up getting drafted, ironically, by the Seahawks as well. So that helped create a bunch of interest and a bunch of teams coming to check me out. So that's how I got a chance with the Redskins. And then, man, I don't know. I went there, Zach, and I guess I built NFL guys up in my head so much that I thought that they would be so – I really didn't know, playing in the Ivy League, I really didn't know if NFL guys would, pick me up and throw me, right? I had no idea what to expect. And I remember, honestly, even after the first minicamp thing, and you know what? I thought they'd be better. I don't want to, ruin anybody's perception of the NFL. They're still really, really good. Trust me. It's not like I excelled or was a Hall of Fame player or even a Pro Bowler. But I guess it's all about expectations in life. And I had made them out to be so great that when I got there, I was like, you know what? I can do this. I was going against a Clemson kid that was, second team all ACC, and I don't know, I just kept blocking him every play, and I kept thinking, okay, well, when's he going to be really good? When am I going to be really impressed? And I just never was. And thankfully for me, the Redskins were kind of in salary cap purgatory after a spending spree the year before, so they needed some cheap, undrafted free agents like me, rookies, to make the team, and that certainly helped as well.
And I was around Tyler Medikevich a lot the last 4 years at Temple, and I'll tell you, he's told me all the time. He said he was at the Butkus Award, the Bednarik Award, and he's saying he's not going to win these awards because you got guys from Alabama, Clemson there, and he ends up winning all the awards. You see a lot of guys now turning into heroes in the National Football League from smaller schools, guys that have always had a chip on their shoulder, went undrafted. You had Julian Edelman in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, 7th-round pick, catching the game-winning touchdown pass. Malcolm Butler making the interception. He was undrafted. So there's been a lot of stories like that in the last few years. As we're talking to Ross Tucker, who joins us right now, make sure you follow him on Twitter at Ross Tucker NFL or catch him out on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Let's talk a little professional football. Reaction to the Fletcher Cox news that he got that big contract.
Well, my initial reaction is always player-centric, which is, man, good for him, because I know how hard it is. I know how tough it is. I know the physical demand. I know about the injury risk. So when I see guys get paid like that and get life-altering money, generational wealth, for their family members, I'm just so excited for them. So initial reaction was excited for him. From the Eagles' standpoint, this has been their strategy and their philosophy this entire offseason. They clearly recognize that the cap's going to continue to go up, and they want to get contracts done now. The earlier they get these contracts done, I think the more money they believe they're saving. And we'll see, because obviously Fletcher got a great deal of money, and they could have, held a tighter grip on his contract. They could have held firmer and just let him play it out this year and franchise him the next 2 years. They chose not to do that. They want these guys locked up. They want them happy. And I think they also recognize that they believe Fletcher Cox is going to be absolutely dominant in Jim Schwartz's system.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's going to be stellar, even better. I don't think he's even reached his full potential, and that 4-3 defense will do him well, but that's a whole lot of money. But I think it's worth it for a guy like Fletcher Cox because he was such an underrated player entering the season last year, and now everyone is going to know his name when you're commanding the dollars that he did getting the money signed. And Howie Roseman, I wasn't too fond of that idea of him coming back into his position after the whole Chip Kelly thing was a disaster. But Howie's starting to do an impressive job here in Philadelphia in the offseason. We'll see what happens when we get to the regular season, but I've been impressed with what Howie Roseman is doing, and I didn't think I'd be saying that a few months ago, Ross.
Well, he clearly has a plan for the next few years, and he's executed it. And now it'll really be about the players on the field. I think if you look at the projected starters for the Eagles this year, only one of them will be a free agent after the season. So they believe in the guys they've got. They believe that they're going to be able to play at a high level. I still think that there's some significant question marks on the roster. When you look at the running back position, maybe even more to the point, wide receiver right now, Jordan Matthews is probably still the number one receiver. He'd be at best a 2 on most other teams in the NFL. And in a corner, their number one cornerback right now, Leotis McKelvin, was the number 3 corner for the Buffalo Bills last year. So there's still some positions that leave a little bit to be desired, but you can't get everything in one off season. I think that will be a priority for them either through the draft and free agency next off season, and that they feel really good about the O-line, the front seven on defense, and a lot of different positions that they've locked up, the tight end position as well. And then, as we all know, ultimately it's going to all be about Carson Wentz and how he ends up progressing over the next couple of years. The Eagles and Howie Roseman made a big, big bet. But you know what? Having covered the FCS championship game the last 2 years, I think that was a bet worth taking.
Before we let you run, as we're talking to Ross Tucker, I'm going to give you 3 names, and I just want to hear your thoughts. If you think that a deal will get done, I'll give you the 3 names: Muhammad Wilkerson, Von Miller, and Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No, yes, yes. I think Wilkerson plays this year under the franchise tag and then leaves and goes elsewhere. Von Miller, I just think that this is sort of the acrimony, the storm before the calm, if that makes sense. I just think if they agreed on the total length of the deal, the total money involved, my guess is they'll find a way to get it done on July 15th. And then for Fitzpatrick, yes. I mean, the Jets have been abundantly clear that he's their number one option at quarterback. I don't know how you look at the fan base and not bring back the guy that you've been very clear is your number one guy.
No doubt about it. Real quickly before we let you run, Ross Tucker, and I agree with you, especially with the Jet situation. You also have to eventually pay Leonard Williams and Sheldon Richardson. Unfortunately for my Temple Owl, Muhammad Wilkerson, I don't think he's going to get a deal with the Jets, and he'll play out this season eventually, and then they will find a way to get rid of him, and he'll sign elsewhere. Real quickly, what do you got coming up next on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast?
Well, I'm going to have a really good discussion with Brian Burke from ESPN Advanced Analytics about all these guys talking about going for 2 and going, 4 on 4th down more. We're going to actually get to the numbers from someone that's crunched them. So I'm really, really looking forward to that with Brian Burke. That'll be next week on Monday. If you didn't listen to today's episode yet, I've got legendary offensive line coach Howard Mudd. And really, he said several things about O-line play that interest and surprised me a little bit. So I'd encourage people to give that a listen as well. Just Google Ross Tucker Football Podcast on your phone or go to rosstucker.com.
Sounds like a lot of smart people talking football, and I don't expect anything else from a Princeton guy himself in Ross Tucker. Ross, we appreciate the time today, and make sure you follow Ross Tucker at Ross Tucker NFL on Twitter. Thanks so much, Ross.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks so much. There's Ross Tucker joining us on the hotline, and you can join us as well, 609-919-9200. More of the Zach Gelb Show when we get back right after these brief messages as we're broadcasting to you today from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios. We'll take a quick break, and when we get back, I have this Ichiro audio for you because some people are saying Ichiro is now the hit king. Our Fox Sports friends in Florida handled this situation just perfectly. We'll tell you about that coming up next. More of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports Radio 920, The Jersey.